much time. So your cost is like cost of computing distance plus cost of sorting. Cost of computing distance is n into m, n into m, where n and m are, as I said, the number of items and number of attributes, plus sorting all these items, and this sorting is not based on individual attribute. It is based on the distance. So it is n log n. So it is n into m plus n log n. So I hope the value of m probably will be smaller than log n. If it is smaller, if it is not smaller, then probably it will be n into m. Okay, so it will be big O of n into m. If it is big, it could be big O of n into m. That's the complexity of this algorithm, KML. I hope this is clear. Maybe if you have any doubts, you can just put those things in the chat box. Okay, let me share this presentation. Now we are talking about clustering algorithms. Is the slide visible?
Yes,
I
sir.
cannot run it because if I run it, then nothing will be visible, as we have seen.
Yes, it is
So
visible, sir.
yes, so we are talking about clustering algorithms. There are two types of algorithms in clustering. One is flat algorithm and other is hierarchical algorithms. Flat algorithms are, in flat algorithms, what we do is we normally start with random partitioning. So we assume that there is some random partitioning existing, and then we start tuning it further, okay, or refining it further, and we do it refinement iteratively. So K means clustering is the classic example of this. Another example is a model-based clustering also. Okay. Second method is hierarchical algorithm, and this algorithms basically either they operate bottom up, they are also called as algomerative algorithm, and otherwise it could be top-down basis, that is divisive. So bottom up is basically you are trying to combine the items together and group them into smaller group, and then these smaller groups are again clubbed together to form larger group, and so on and so forth. So till you get whatever number of groups you expect out of that. Okay, so that's called as algomerative or bottom up kind of algorithms, hierarchical algorithms. And in case of top down, it is just reverse. Okay, we just try to break it down and then try to ensure that it is properly being done, clustered into different groups. So clustering algorithms is basically, the definition of that is, given the items, you are trying to put them into different clusters. So how many different clusters you are forming, that is up to you. You can decide how many clusters you want, how many groups you want, and you are putting these items into the different groups. So that is called as clustering. There are also two methods of clustering. One is called as hard clustering and second is called as soft clustering. Hard clustering is nothing but each document, here we are talking about document, but it could be each item belongs to exactly one cluster. So if item belongs to only one cluster, it is called as hard clustering. So second method is soft clustering, in which it is possible that the item may belong to different groups at the same time. Okay, so soft clustering is slightly complicated, and I don't think we are going in details of soft clustering. But the example is, say for example, if you want to put pair of sneakers, you can put it in two clusters. One is sports apparel and other is shoes. Okay, so you can put it in both the classes, both the clusters. Okay, so forming the soft cluster is slightly difficult. Forming hard clusters is that way straightforward. Now let us concentrate our attention towards K-means algorithm. So this K-means algorithm is based on it. The cluster is formed based on the distance. Again, we are using the standard distance formula for computing the distances, and using these distances, we prepare or we form the different clusters. So it has a cluster, and each cluster has its own centroid. Centroid of the cluster is a cluster center, and that can be formed by looking at the attributes of that particular point. So what we do is basically we take all points which belong to that cluster, and we take the average of attributes of the points which belongs to that cluster. So that average of individual attributes will give you the centroid of the cluster. So this is a representative of that cluster. So it's a central point, we can say, of that cluster, which represents that cluster. Quality of this K-means algorithm is based on the sum of squares of difference between centroid and the data points within the cluster. Uh, so if the cluster has, say, some X number of points, then the quality of the cluster, how will you define the quality? The cluster is better if the difference between the distances of the points which belongs to that cluster and cluster center, if that distance is small, that is the points are very close to the cluster center, then we can say that you have formed the proper clusters, you have formed the proper groups. If this distance is more, then probably uh, there is a possibility, or you haven't formed the points or the groups appropriately. Okay, so maybe you can take the summation of the distances, sum of distances of the points which belong to a particular group from the centroid of that group. Okay, so that can be taken as one of the important prime criteria to decide the quality of the clusters. Uh, the K-means problem is to find the cluster center that minimizes the intra-class variance. Okay, intra-class variance, that is the sum of square distances of each data point being clustered to its cluster center. Okay, so it is a sum of square of distances. So why we take sum of square of distances is to ensure that we don't get any negative effect or negative value into it. So we just square it to make it positive and sum it together. So that value is possibly the value which gives you the quality, okay, quality of the formation of the cluster. These are some of the examples, like these are some of the items you'll find in the first diagram, that there are uh, some people, some pailwans and some short people. And so when we say that we are forming a cluster, all these people with low height will be clustered into one, will be put into one cluster. All the normal people probably will be put into one cluster, another cluster, and all the pailwans will be put into another cluster, kind of thing. So question is how you're going to do it. So this can be done only with the help of the attributes if we have of those people. Okay. Similarly, second is normal method, which we apply for points in 2 dimensions. So if D points, I hope you can see the pointer. So if these points are given, when I say the points are given, the X and Y coordinates of these points are given, and we are supposed to form the clusters out of them. So if we are asked to form, say, 3 clusters out of all these points, what we can do is, the best way is we can put all these points particularly into one cluster, these points into another cluster, and the remaining points into another cluster. If you look at them, then probably you'll see that the cluster center will be somewhere here. For this cluster, the cluster center for the blue points will be somewhere here, and the cluster center for the black points will be somewhere here, and they will represent the clusters. And if you compute the distance of the points which belong to that cluster and the cluster center, this, and if you take the uh, sum of squares, then probably this sum will be smallest. Okay, and if you add all these together, this value will be smallest compared to if you form some other kind of clusters. I'd like to show you the animation for this. Maybe I'll stop sharing this. I had just taken that animation from the Wikipedia. Let me just share that. I hope no, it is not possible. The screen. Can you see the screen?
No, sir.
Can you see it now?
No, no.
Not at all.
आय थिंक शेअर करायला पाहिजे सर. शेअर नाही केलं वाटतं तुम्ही.
नाही ती विंडोज दिसत नाही त्या शेअर मध्ये. त्यामुळे मी एंटायर स्क्रीन शेअर केलं.
ओके.
I don't know what is the problem with this Chrome tab. It's not a Chrome tab, it's a window. Anyway, so maybe you can refer to that particular animation on your own. It is available on Wikipedia page of K-means algorithm.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So let me go back to that presentation. Okay. So what is shown there is slowly after the iterations and lot of iterations, the convergence takes place, and you will be able to see formation of proper clusters out of the given points. Okay. And as I said, let me go to the, can you see the slide? Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So the objective function here is as I said, it is the distance which we are using, and the distance is computed, and we just take the difference of the things. So here J is the objective function which we are trying to minimize. So what we are trying to minimize is the distance between the cluster center and the points. The summation of the distances or square of the distances must be as small as possible. So it can be represented with the help of this expression, where the K is the number of centroids or number of clusters which we want to form. N is the number of points, and Xi and Xj are the actual the difference between the different attributes of the other points and the centroid. Okay, this is for centroid, this is for the point. So it is written here Xij is the point and the Cij is the cluster center. We have n points and k number of clusters. Let us look at the complexity issue. What is the complexity of this? It is basically NP-hard problem for any general number of cluster number k. If k and d is a dimension, and dimension is number of attributes of the points. So if k is a number of clusters and d is the dimension, then the problem can be exactly solved in the time n raised to dk plus 1. It can also be, we can represent this with the help of some other formula also, but this is one of the method in which we can represent the complexity. Why it is like this is because we'll come to the procedure first, and then we'll see why the complexity is like this. Okay. Before that, again, let us look at the properties of some of the good cluster. Here, the first property is all data points in the cluster should be similar. Okay, so they should be very close to each other. Okay, they should be very similar to each other or close to each other. And the data points from different clusters should be as different as possible. They should be, because they are apart, they should be as different in terms of their attributes. In terms of the attributes. Okay, and third is well spread proportion of data points among the cluster. So whatever number of points you have, the distribution of these points, if we say that the points are given, the normal data is available with you, then the distribution must be very proper. So it is 5 to 35% of population in one cluster, depending on, of course, it depends on number of clusters you are forming, and but as far as possible, the distribution must be appropriate amongst the clusters. Distribution of points amongst the clusters must be appropriate. Now, if the classification adheres to all these points, then we can say that we have formed a good cluster, or clusters are formed appropriately. Now, how do we implement this k-means? Let us look at this in detail. There could be confusion about k-means, like how many clusters we are going to form. So unless and until we know how many clusters we are going to form, it is difficult to say that in how many groups we want to divide our data. Okay, so there are some standard methods available, but these are not foolproof, and there is no any unique method which says that it is the best method. There are various approaches in selecting k value, where k is the number of clusters. Okay, so in the particular example which is seen on the screen, maybe we can say that for the first example, that is this example, we don't know whether we should form one cluster or two clusters. Similarly, if this is the particular example, then we don't know whether this point, the middle point, belongs to this cluster, should belong to this cluster or this. There could be confusion. So we must have some mechanisms to look at and address these kinds of confusions. Now, another confusion could be in form of if this is the distribution of the points, uh, whether we'll be able to form a proper clustering out of these points. This is very difficult because we say normally that, say, for example, if you form this cluster, then forming this kind of cluster will be difficult. Okay, forming this kind of cluster will be difficult. Maybe we can form cluster of this size, or this is as one cluster and this as another cluster. So these are the typical examples where there could be confusions, and as a developer, you should be able to address these confusions and look for these, uh, handle these kinds of confusions properly in the code. So as I said, it is very difficult to decide the value of k. Okay, it's very difficult to decide. But unless and until you have, you know the value of k, you cannot proceed with that algorithm. You must. It doesn't solve the problem of k on its own. There must be some intervention from the user to decide the value of k. Okay, so there are different methods, as I said. One are called as visual method, that is looking at the properties of the data. One can decide, or properties of the result rather. One can decide what is the actual or optimal value of key it should have. Then there are some mathematical methods also. Of course, we are not going in details of these methods, like Sillhard-Tape coefficient. Using that, you can decide what is the value, what should be the value of k. And based on the experimentation and interpretations, one can decide the value of k. Basically, we look at the first method, that is elbow creation. So what is this method, elbow creation? What we need to do is we need to plot the number of clusters against the within cluster sum of squared errors, that is SSE, sum squared errors. So SSE is the error, and this error can be computed by looking at, again, the distance of the points within the clusters from the cluster center. Okay, so these values can be taken and they can be plotted, and once you get that plot, based on the nature of plot, you can approximately decide what is the best k value you can have. Okay, so here identify the elbow in the plot, and this elbow is a point representing the optimal number of clusters, that is the value of k. So look at this figure. So we have plotted, say, the SSC, sum squared error, versus number of clusters. So when you say that you are plotting this particular diagram, or you are plotting this particular graph, Equivalently, we are saying that we have tested it for different values of k. That is, we have formed these many clusters, and then we have computed the values of SSC. So it is kind of, first of all, doing all calculations and then deciding k. So it is like you will be spending a lot of time in doing this. But this is also a good method because you are doing it visually. So looking at the graph, now looking at the graph, you can certainly decide that the value changes somewhere here. So this probably this region, whatever value of k you get, like 4, 5, is the appropriate value when there is a major change or the graph changes its nature at this point. So this is the elbow which is created. So we can take these values 4 or 5 as the standard value of k. Okay. So sum of the square distance from every data point to the cluster center, that is how we compute the SSCs, some square errors. And once we get those SSCs, we plot this for different values of k, different clusters. And then once you get that, then whenever you get a change, whenever there is a angular kind of visualization, then you consider that point, that value, corresponding value of k, uh, as the standard value. Okay, so as I said, you can take either 4 or 5 or maybe 3 also. 3 is not appropriate, but ideal is 4. Okay, so 4 is the value of k, which will give you better value of better SSC, and the computations which are required are also less. Okay, number of computations are also less. Yeah, so let us look at the time complexity with another angle. So computing the time, computing the distance between the two items or two documents, it is basically used for documents, is big O of m, where m is the dimensionality of vector. So if you have two points, and if every point has got a dimension of m, then computing the distance is as we do differentiating, I mean, subtracting one from the other and then taking a square of it. So it will take, because you have m dimensional point, it will take this, the complexity will be big O of m. Okay, where m is the dimensionality of the vector. Then reassigning clusters can be done in, because you have k n distance computations or k n m. So total for n dimensions, it will be k into n into m, k into n into m. You need to compute the centroids, that is the center of the groups or centers of the clusters. Each item gets added once to some centroid. So it is possible that your points are shifting from one cluster to the other cluster, but every time you need to recompute the centroids. So the cost of that is O into n in big O of n into m. So in all, these steps will require computations of, and this is being done iteratively. This is being done iteratively. So if you have I number of iterations, then the total cost of this doing this is I into k into n into m, I, k, n, m, where I is the number of iterations, k is the clusters, n is the number of points, and m is the dimension. Okay, so this is the total cost of your the computation. Again, look at uh, now. I think we haven't gone through the actual process. So let me just tell you what the process of entire algorithm is. So what we need to do is, maybe if you have been given, say, n points, and if you want to form k clusters, if you have n points and if you want to form k clusters, what you can do is you can take any 4 points, any k points, and treat them as cluster centers. Treat them as cluster centers. Then you can start computing the distance of each one of the points with these cluster centers. Okay, so take one point, compute its distance from each one of the k cluster center which you have decided randomly, and then assign that point or put that point in the cluster where the distance is less. Okay. So if the distance is less, then you assign that point to that particular cluster. So once you assign all the points to this k number of cluster centers, every cluster will have some points. Okay. Once the first step is over, next step is to compute the or recompute the cluster centers. So for each one of these clusters, take the average of all the points which belongs to that cluster. Okay. So computing the cluster center is just to take the average of all the points. Now, average of all the points is average of all the attributes, and whatever average attributes you have, that is called as a cluster center. So that is your new cluster center. Now repeat the process, like take all the rest of the points, then compute the distance of these points with the new cluster center and check to which cluster center it is near, and then put that point into that cluster. So in the second step, maybe in the second iteration, you will find that some of the points will move from one cluster to the other cluster or from one group to the other group, because in the next iteration they are closer to the other group, to the other cluster center. So that's why they have moved from one cluster to the other cluster. So once they have moved from one cluster to the other cluster, once you do it for all the points, what you can do is now you have new clusters which are formed. So you can recompute the cluster centers. You can recompute the cluster centers. Now, by recomputing the cluster centers, you will get new representative. Again, repeat the entire process. For every point, compute the distance of that point with these new cluster centers, and then put that point into the cluster where the distance is less. So if it is near to the cluster center, put that point into that cluster, the corresponding cluster. So this thing you are repeating. I hope the process is clear to you. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
I think I have deleted that slide which actually shows the process. Anyway, I think I have successfully explained that process to you. So what is happening is your points are getting assigned to the different, maybe your points, depending on the distance, are getting assigned to the different clusters at different points of time or in different iterations. Now the question is, this will go on continue. Now, till what time it should be continue? You cannot continue it infinitely. So you must have some proper thresholds, or you should have some proper conditions, which when satisfied, you have to come out. So whatever cluster is formed, that will be final. So what are those boundary conditions, or what are those conditions which probably are important to break these iterations? Otherwise, they will put themselves into iterations, different iterations, or infinite number of loops. So the first criteria is possibly you must have decided what is that sum square error, maximum value or minimum value of sum square error. If that sum square error is less than some threshold value, then you say enough is enough. Whatever groups we have formed, whatever clusters we have formed, those clusters are final clusters. Okay, so it could be based on that value. So as I said, the first criteria is looking at the SSE, sum squared errors. If that sum square error is less than some threshold value, you are stopping the iterations. You are saying that whatever is formed now is final. So these are the K groups or K clusters which are formed. And these points belong to these different clusters. Okay. So this is one, but it is possible that this may take long time. This may take long time, and it is very difficult to decide this SSC criteria. Offhand, we don't know. Looking just at the points and their arrangement, it is very difficult to decide the threshold value. Okay, if you are expert in that field, then maybe you can, or you can do it trial and error kind of basis. You can decide that SSC. But deciding this SSC could be very crucial. Another method is what? Another method is we can say that the groups have been converged once we found that in two successive iterations, wherein we are recalculating the cluster sums and we are assigning these points to the different clusters. If we found that in two successive iterations, the belongingness of these points to the clusters have not changed. No any points has changed its belonging from one cluster to the other cluster. So there is no change of arrangement in two successive iterations. Then we can say that the groups have been converged. The clusters have been properly formed. Okay. So this is the second criteria, which says that if there is no change of ownership of the points to the group in two successive iterations, then we say that the clusters have converged. Okay. This is probably the second criteria. Right. Is it okay? Hello. Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. You are audible.
Yeah. Yeah. Now the question is, on what factor the time complexity or the total time required for forming the cluster depends. As I said, it depends on the threshold value. If you have decided that once the threshold value is reached, you can stop iterating. Or I may say that it depends on uh, at what point of time this changing of ownership stops. It depends on that. And I mean, it depends on the points. Third thing, it also depends on where you are starting or from what point you are starting. I said that you select, suppose the value of k is 4, you select with any 4 random points. So it is also important that which 4 points you are starting or selecting initially. So if your 4 points are appropriate, then it may converge rapidly towards the final solution. If your 4 points which you have selected initially are not proper, then it may lead to the different direction. And it's also true that it is not necessary that all the time you'll get the same result of these clusters. Look at the screen. What it says is how important your seed choice is. Seed is nothing but you are selecting the first random seeds. That is the cluster as a cluster heads, the 4 points in case of k is equal to 4. So it says that the result can vary based on the random seed selection. You can see, look at the example here. The example showing the sensitivity towards seeds. Look at this. If these are the seeds A, B, C, D, E, these are the points, and C, D, C, A, B, C, D, E, F. Yeah, all these are the points which are given, and if you're supposed to form the clusters out of it, if you select with the seeds B and E, look at them, B and E, then B and E, then what is possible is it is possible that it will create a cluster of these points A, B, and C, and the second cluster will be D, E, and F. Okay, it is possible. Of course, this distance is too much, and maybe you need to shift it here very close to B. Then only it is possible. But it may form this thing clusters. Instead, if you select the points as D and F, this is D and this is F. If you select these two as the clusters centers initially, I'm saying initially when we select the points as the cluster center, if you select with this, then it is possible that these 4 will belong to A, B, D, E will belong to one cluster, and C and F will belong to another cluster. So what is appropriate in this case? Probably in this, whatever you're seeing on the screen, probably this is the appropriate answer. C and F should belong to one cluster, one group, and all these 4 must belong to one group. Okay, so this is appropriate. So it is, the clustering also depends on what random seed you are selecting, which random seed you are selecting. Some seed can result in poor convergence rate. As I said, it will take more time to converge, and the convergence to suboptimal clustering. So this can be the first one could be treated as suboptimal because it is putting A, B, and C in one cluster and D, E, and F in the other cluster. So this seed selection may result in suboptimal clustering, and it may take long time also in some cases to converge. Okay. So you need to select good seeds using some methods, standard methods like heuristic methods, and you need to do it with multiple starting points and initialize the results of another method. Maybe you can use some other hybrid methods for deciding these seeds. Again, another important point which needs to be addressed is how many clusters we need to form. The number of clusters are normally given. So partition the items into predefined or predetermined number of clusters. Finding the right number of clusters is a part of the problem. Uh, you can decide it based on whatever heuristic method you have, or you can use some standard algorithms for deciding the number of clusters, of course, which is out of scope for this particular session. Now, if that k is not given, question is, if the k is not given, how do you decide it? Maybe you can do, you can take different values of k, and then for every value of k, you can look for the quality of the result. So we should have uh, some benefits. We can say the quality can be computed in some terms, and then these quality parameters will decide what is the best value of k. Okay. So it is not necessary that if you have more number of clusters, your results are appropriate. And it is also not right that to say that if you have less number of clusters, your method is very accurate. Okay. So the question is how to decide. This decision of k is, maybe we can say that it is $1,000,000 question. How to decide the value of k? If k is given, then the method is very systematic, very standard, very robust kind of thing. But still, there are some questions which needs to be answered, like where that iteration process will stop, as we have seen the answers like SSC and the convergence. Okay, but this is also very important. It's very important to decide how the k to be finalized. Okay, so given the clustering, we need to define the benefit for item to be similar to its centroid, like SSC. So we are using some parameters based on SSC. We define the total benefit to be the sum of individual dock benefits. So it could be either sum square error, or it could be in terms of, say, benefit which you get if your cluster center is very close to the points in that cluster. Okay. So we can use we can use this parameters to compute the total benefit of that cluster for a particular value of k. And we also compute the penalization, the cost which is involved for creating different clusters. So for each cluster, we say that the cost associated with creation of clusters is c. So the clustering with k clusters will have a cost of k into c. So as far as the value of the clustering is concerned, for every value of k, we compute the value. For every value of k, we compute the value of the cluster, and that can be in terms of, or it can be computed by subtracting the total cost from total benefit. Of course, these are subjective terms, but using this method, you can decide the quality factor of the cluster. That quality factor will be useful. The quality factor will be used to decide what is the best value of k. What's the best value of k? So you can do it for different values of k, and then compute the quality factor, and the one which is having better quality factor can be considered as a standard answer. So finding the clusters of highest value, clustering of highest value over all choices of K. So the value which is best amongst all values of all choices of K can be considered as a best classification, best cluster. Then we look at some of the applications of this K-means algorithm. Some of the applications are, first one is image segmentation. Like given the image, you can see it on the right hand side. Given this image, we can segment it using clustering. So this white lines indicates that these are this images, this given image is being clustered. Why it is clustered like this is because of the properties of the pixels which are present inside that cluster. So you see that the properties of this, let's say for example, the color is blue, and maybe we can look at the property like how they are connected to the surrounding pixels. So basically all these pixels, surrounding pixels for every pixel has then some properties we consider here. Similarly, we can use it here, and the result of this clustering will be like this. So image segmentation can be carried out using clusters. Of course, again, we need to know here how many clusters we are trying to put them in. Okay. If you reduce the number of clusters, or if you increase the number of clusters, then probably you will not get the correct results. The segmentation will not be proper. Okay. So you need to have another algorithm which will decide the number of clusters here, and or manually you can do it, but again, uh, it may be error prone. Second is customer segmentation. So given the preferences of the clusters, customers, like preferences could be in terms of whatever they have bought or whatever they are purchasing in a mall. Those can be considered, and then we can segment them into, say, customer who is more beneficial to the mall, the person who purchases very little things and but spends a lot of time into the malls, something of that sort. And based on that, you can provide the additional services to the your privileged customers. Maybe you can decide which items are bought frequently. If a person buys this, then he also buys this. This kind of analysis can also be carried out, and then the items can be clustered properly inside the mall. That can also be done. The method can also be used for document clustering. Now, document clustering is a slightly complex process wherein we are using, because we are looking at the similarities or differences between the items. So as far as the documents are concerned, we need to compute the distance between the documents. So the methods which are used are cosine similarities, which probably will benefit or will be used for computing the distances between the documents. Of course, you need to parse the documents, and then you need to convert them into appropriate vectors. And then you need to relate these vectors or compare these vectors with one another to compute the distances. And then they can be put into different clusters. So given, say, huge number of documents, pile of documents, scanned documents maybe, you can put them into appropriate groups, and then you can process these different groups separately. And the last method is vector quantization, in which again this is basically a image compression method, and this but it internally uses K-means algorithm. K-means can be used for forming the small clusters, and then these clusters basically can be represented by their cluster centers. So instead of, so wherever you find any point, that point is being represented by the cluster center. So if you have very small clusters which are formed, then you can get a very good compression ratio. At the same time, you get a very good results of if it is applied for images, then you could get a very good image compression in this case. Okay. So vector quantization is another method which can be used for this. So the standard paper which is being referred here is the paper which is shown here. You can, if you're interested, maybe you can go through this paper. You'll get a lot of details, and there are other methods also which uh, makes this algorithm more and more robust. And this depends on, I mean, this includes the things like deciding the values of key automatically, or writing a different algorithms for deciding the values of key, or termination of the algorithm, or how we select the seeds. All these things are relevant and very important, and this influences the quality of the algorithm. So as a conclusion, what we can say is there are many algorithms, many such algorithms which exist. Transforming these useful for your need, you need to make some changes, appropriate changes into it, whether it is KNN or whether it is K-means algorithm. As per the needs of the applications, you should make some changes into these algorithms, and then you should put it for, I mean, you should use it for your the complexity calculations. These calculations are really complex, and this will vary from the way you perceive these algorithms, from the perspective of the user. And optimization, lot of techniques are being used. You will see huge number of documents which actually improvises or tries to improvise the different uh, algorithms like KNN and K-means. Lot of algorithms are proposed, and not just proposed, these are implemented also. And as I said, depends on what kind of applications you're running. All right, so this is all about the K-means algorithm. This is very simple, though it looks very simple. Many times it has been seen that the students, they just say that it is they know this K-means algorithm, but as far as understanding point of view is concerned, or implementation point of view is concerned, they lack the understanding or the logic behind it. This has got a severe problem, like K-means algorithm. When you look at them, then if you have some outliers, like if you have one of the point which is far away from the rest of the point, now that point actually influences the results. So it creates a huge problem. So there are many other methods, like instead of K-means, they are called as K-medoids, K-medoids algorithm. So uh, so this K-medoids algorithm is an improvement over K-means algorithm. What it does is basically, instead of as we have done in the first iteration, we have considered the items or the samples as the centroids. So what K-medoid does is, in every iteration, it considers only the points as the cluster center, and it never computes the actual virtual centroid or virtual center of the cluster. Okay, so that is called as K-medoids algorithm. That is also very important, and it's improvement over the K-means algorithm. And improvement is basically because, or it overcomes the problem of outliers. There are something like uh, partitioning around the medoids, and there are some variants of this partitioning over medoids. Like you will find that Clara, that is clustering large applications. Clustering large applications is the data set which you can download, and you can work on that. And the Clarans, that is, it is clustering large application based on randomized search. So there are some variants of these spans also. So these are some of the things which are coming up nowadays, and again, a lot of work has been carried out, of course, and a lot of changes are being taken place. Of course, implementing this will be very fruitful experience, and you will enjoy implementing this K-means algorithm. And probably with some changes, you'll be able to use it for a lot of applications, day-to-day applications. Okay, so this way, application point of view, this K-means algorithm is very, very useful. And as I said, the basic use of this is putting the items into different clusters, putting the samples into different groups. Okay, I think That is what I wanted to convey to you in today's session. So thank you very much for your patient hearing, and the session is open for question.
Thank you, sir. Any questions from participants? You can unmute yourself and directly talk to the sir.
हाँ राज, आवाज आ रही है मेरी?
Yes,
Yes.
yes, sir.
अभी है सर. Hi sir.
हेलो,
Good afternoon.
गुड आफ्टरनून.
सर आवाज आ रही है मेरी? या
आ रही है.
Hello. No. Hello.
2 मिनट रुकिए ना.
Yes.
Hello. I can't hear anything.
Okay.
Is there any problem?
No, I think some. Okay, is there a question? Sir, I have one question. That is in the clustering algorithm, there are number of algorithms are there. That is k-means as well as hierarchical algorithms are also there.
Yes,
So
yes.
how to choose this k-means or hierarchical algorithm? On which basis we can select the algorithm?
No, there is any standard method you can select, and hierarchical is like first of all, say if you're thinking of bottom up kind of thing, then given all the points, you are comparing each point with every other point, and then the points which are closer you are putting it in one subgroup, and then this way you are forming small groups, large number of small groups, and once you form them, now you are merging the groups which are very close to each other.
Okay.
So it's like forming, and at whatever point of time you want to stop. I mean, depending on how many clusters or how many groups you want, you can stop there. So that is hierarchical kind of clustering. Whereas in case of K, you start with some random values. You say that I have K number of clusters, and these are the points which are in the clusters, and then you try to refine them further. So there is no any standard yardstick to decide which is best. Depending on your requirement, you can decide.
Okay. And what about, sir, computation complexity?
Complexity, hierarchical will have higher complexity because a lot of computations are involved. Whereas with some assumptions you are starting with these k-means kind of algorithms.
Okay.
So as far as computational complexity is concerned, k-means is better.
Okay. Okay, sir. I think no question further.
Yes.
So we'll wind up the session.
Yes. So thank you very much once again for the patience hearing.
Okay. So, sir, on behalf of Sandeep Foundations, Sandeep Institute of Engineering and Management, Nashik, we would like to take this opportunity to express our heartfelt thanks to you for serving as a resource person for the AICTE sponsored short-term training program. Really, sir, we appreciate the time and efforts that you have spent during the event, and it was privileged to have you and our midst. Again, thank you, sir, for much of your contribution, time, and efforts to success this STTP. And I hope the same cooperation in the near future as well, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Bye. Good day.
So all the participants are requested to take a break of nearly 55 minutes, I think. At 3 p.m., we can join sharply as our third resource person, Dr. Seetal Rathi ma'am, will be there to guiding throughout the session of 1 hour session related to the what are the current live projects going on in the field of data science, data analytics, and machine learning related to some agriculture project, some mechanical project using these data analyticals. Will guide them. So we will meet sharply at 3 p.m. And after that 1.5 hours required to wind up this our 5 days STTP. That is means by some validative function. And after that one, we'll have some short test according to the guideline of AICTE. And then we can distribute the certificates. Okay. So thank you. In the last session, those who have missed the maybe some issue, some power cut, or maybe some genuine problems, they are not able to attend some of the sessions in between. So they can fill their attendance in the last session. Like in the last sessions, we will add all the session links in that one. So you can fill that. Okay. So thank you. And again, we'll meet at 3 p.m. sharply. Thank you.